This particular home has been mine for over 30 years now, so it's part of me really. It's got all my memorabilia, my travels, my relationships, my history. We have different life experiences, all of us. We have different politics, we have differences in opinions about lots of things, but the one commonality we have is we understand each other and where we're coming from. And that's very precious, and particularly as you get older. It's very easy to forget how many people didn't make it. There are people that committed suicide, there are people that ended up in psychiatric hospitals. The prejudice is still there. We can forget now, because we've got gay marriage and everything else like that, that there has been a tremendous cost. And we've got that in our memories. Some people may still be alive, but will be going back in the closet as a way of surviving into their very old age. And that's tragic and very, very sad. I think my ideal circumstances would be to live in a home or a sheltered scheme or a housing scheme that depicts my culture, values my culture. And that's hard to explain. A lot of people don't understand what our culture is, but I don't have to define it when I'm with other LGBT people because it's just understood.
Many older LGBT people only felt safe in their own homes because the world outside was so hostile and critical of their so-called moral deficiencies. I learnt to lead a double life. I went through this kind of dead phase which lasted for 2-3 decades. Those early experiences always remain buried in one's subconscious, and although the external conditions might be favourable and non-injurious, they are still there. And I think as one gets older and weaker and less able to get about and engage, these memories come to the fore, especially in illness, long-term illness or disability. So that it's important that they are in a safe space, not just physically, but spiritually and mentally, where the people who will care for them understand and empathize when they feel vulnerable. It's really quite recently that I have got some idea of home, which now is a very cherished idea and something which I will want to carry through for the rest of my life.
Elderly, unhappy man who had been pursued and tortured by damnable threats of exposure.
There's another black male there. Oh God, yeah. Do you remember that, the vassal?
Yeah. Well, it makes me very angry because of my own personal development, that it was held back by fear. For instance, this, the doctor fined for indecency and that kind of, but it wasn't just being up against the law, but whispering and possibly even blackmail, which you always had to take into account. Though you got sacrificed.
Yeah, straight out, and that was it. And then the witch hunt started after that.
What a waste of human material and tragedy that all that represents.
Those memories really of what we lived through, and that's where the fear comes from, is that, well, it could happen again when we get older. I love this. I would like this on my
right?
wall.
I want it one for me
one
too.
on my wall,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Love your
beautiful
inner
graphic.
lesbian, isn't
It is.
Wonderful.
Fortunately, we're here, but what a price to pay in a so-called civilized world.
We need people to celebrate who we are and where we've come from. Because we've lived through so many different changes, and now we're going through many more. And the next challenge, I suppose, is care in our old age, and that we can help towards building a better way of living.
The entrance is right in the hinge of the whole thing. So if we find a bigger, I'm going to find a bigger plan here, I can talk to that. Feeling is it's going to be a really sociable space. So that's the laundry. So they're 2-storey, but they've got nice big staircases. You can fit stairs.
What's going to be interesting to see here is what comes out of the aspirations of LGBT people in terms of how they want to live, how they want to relate to the world around them and to each other.
Is intentional communities. I think that's a great description.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things about building a development of flats for a specific group of people is that it has a public face. And the early discussions have been about the facilities that people will share within the development will also be outward looking and inviting to the community around. They'll also have facilities and an invitation to learning, to experience, to different kinds of interaction. So I think that's a massive opportunity.
To be in a place like Tonic and to live the last days of one's life in a safe space with like-minded people, it's completing a kind of journey from not just non-recognition but persecution to a kind of fullness.
The next steps are going to be fascinating as the project becomes a little more physical. The whole direction of older people's housing in this country, in Europe and in America at the moment, is about people taking charge of their own destiny. What is going to be fascinating about Tonic is to see the strands of LGBT experience that are given physical form.